Right now, on to the point. The redistricting fight continues in Texas as lawmakers face threats of arrest and fines for fleeing their state.
I'll pay that price for America.
The fight also extending to California.
We risk losing our democracy if they rig our districts even further.
A community celebrates a boost from federal funding.
This one is to charge our community up for the future.
A look at the Youth Built project helping to power change. The economy and high prices. Tips for staying on budget as tariffs take effect.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. And tonight, the redistricting fight in Texas continues. The special legislative session in that state was on hold for the second day in a row, with several Democrats sitting out in protest. Now, those Democratic state lawmakers face threats of arrest and fines for leaving their state. They are holding up Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Republican lawmakers who want to redraw Texas congressional maps with the intention of helping Republicans nationally. Democrats argue Republicans are not entitled to more seats in Congress. And this evening, Governor Greg Abbott asked the Texas Supreme Court to remove from office the Texas Democrats who broke quorum during this special session. Those lawmakers are in New York, Boston, and Chicago protesting Governor Abbott's attempt to redraw congressional lines that make it easier for Republicans to win those seats. I want to bring in reporter Jason Whiteley, who has more from us for Chicago.
24 hours now into their quorum break, and Texas Democrats sound decidedly more defiant, directly attacking Texas Republicans.
What is wrong with you, Governor? What is wrong with you? You've had babies to lose their lives. Families are suffering, and you are trying to redistrict Texas?
You already have the governor's office. You're the majority in the Senate, the majority in the House. What more do you want?
Tuesday, Texas Democrats appeared alongside the chair of the Democratic National Committee outside Chicago and the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker. Reporters asking Pritzker multiple times, and he would not commit to redistrict Illinois to favor Democrats. But Pritzker also refused to rule it out.
It is possible to redistrict. It's not something that I want to do. It's not something that any of us want to have to do.
We don't want them to have to redistrict. Because as keep saying, we don't think that that's a right thing to do. It's not right for our democracy. It's not right for the American people. But if you leave us no choice, then we'll have to do as you do.
President Trump, worried that Republicans will lose their narrow majority in Congress next year, wants the Texas legislature to redraw congressional districts that would make it easier for Republicans to win. Unable to stop it, House Democrats left the state Sunday, forcing the legislature to a standstill without a quorum present.
We are very, very close, and I think we'll be at a quorum soon.
You think that there are some Democrats still in Texas that DPS might pick up?
I know for sure they are.
How soon would that happen?
It could happen any minute.
Republicans say troopers only need to find 5 Democrats for the legislature to go back to work. But how many, if any, remain in Texas remains unclear.
And California Republican gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton today spoke against Governor Newsom's redistricting plan. Hilton talking earlier today, he announced legal action to stop Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta from a mid-decade redistricting plan, which he calls a crime against democracy in California.
The crime has been committed against our democracy here in California. Because whatever people say about Texas starting this fight over redistricting, here in California, we've had gerrymandered districts for a decade now, despite the intent of the voters to have an independent redistricting process. That's what people want. They took the power away from the legislature.
Meanwhile, California Congressman Kevin Kiley is moving forward with legislation to try and stop the redistricting process, not just in California, but nationwide. Today, he shared an outline of what that legislation looks like. So here's what the bill would do if it would be passed. First, it would ban states from redrawing congressional districts more than once per decade after the U.S. Census. The bill would allow states to redraw lines mid-decade if ordered by a court to comply with the Constitution or Voting Rights Act. It doesn't affect affect how states run state or local elections or draw those districts. And if passed, the bill would apply to any congressional redistricting after the November 2024 election. And right now on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app, we have more on the redistricting clash. Just search for redistricting on the home screen. That app is completely free to download straight to your TV. Today, Congressmembers John Garamendi and Doug LaMoffa announced the Transportation Emergency Relief Extension Act, and this extends the obligation deadline for using Federal Highway Administration emergency relief funds from 2 years to 6 years. Now, extending the deadline for using the emergency relief funds would help account for the steps that need to be cleared before spending the money after a natural disaster and allow more flexibility in rebuilding after an emergency. Communities often turn to the emergency relief program to rebuild highways, roads, and bridges after a disaster. And another source of federal dollars available to states is something called community project funding, formerly called earmarks. And it allows members of Congress to request money for local projects right in their district. ABC 10's Becca Habegger joins us live in studio right now to show us how the end result of one of these projects really looks like.
Alex, every year, each member of the U.S. House of Representatives can ask the Appropriations Committee to fund up to 15 local projects in their district. Now, these can run the gamut from transportation and infrastructure to agriculture, commerce, and more. Well, today in South Sacramento, we saw what one grant for $500,000 has done for the community.
1, 2, 3.
Community leaders cut the ribbon Tuesday on 2 new electric vehicle charging stations in South Sacramento.
Now they're officially on site and ready to charge this community up.
They say South Sacramento is a bit of a charging station desert. This map from the U.S. Department of Energy shows plenty of options downtown, but in South Sacramento, fewer and farther between. The map already includes the newly unveiled chargers here at South Sacramento Christian Center.
Normally we're holding press conferences for violence and for shootings and for all the different things happening in the community. This one is to charge our community up for the future.
Les Simmons is the pastor here and longtime community activist. He says profits from the chargers will fund neighborhood work.
Our food distribution that continues to feed thousands of people, our youth facility that, runs youth services from basketball or sports recreational programs, violence interruption programs.
The chargers were built using a $500,000 federal grant secured by Representative Doris Matsui through Community Project Funding. A $400,000 grant from the NBA Foundation and other sources brought the total funding to just over $1 million.
We're standing next to our new ChargePoint chargers that Green Tech has installed.
17-year-old Corey Takeuchi helped build the chargers.
We installed these side pieces.
That's because this project is about more than just electric vehicle infrastructure. 36 youth ages 16 to 24 from underserved communities were hired to build these as part of a mentoring and green jobs training program from which they have since graduated.
I plan on pursuing an EV career path because of this fellowship. It has very much piqued my interest.
When we empower youth, we don't just change their lives, we change the trajectory of the entire neighborhoods that they live in.
Dr. Dante Early, president and CEO of United Way California Capital Region, and Chet Hewitt, founder and CEO of the Center at Sierra Health Foundation, say this is an example of federal grant dollars benefiting a community in multiple ways.
This was a youth development project. It introduces them to the future. This was a health project. This was an economic development project. And it was a violence reduction project because 36 kids from across the city actually had something creative to do in the hours when they could have been out engaged in behaviors that aren't. It is a win-win-win-win situation, and we got to thank a lot of partners for making it happen.
Youth in the program were paid $25 per hour plus travel compensation. That wage was based on the United Ways of California real cost measure. That accounts for all expenses someone pays to make ends meet, from food and housing to transportation and health care, based on where in the state they live and the size of their household. Alex.
All right, Becca, thank you for bringing us that story tonight. Coming up onto the point, it's a special night out for neighbors, the community, and for connection with a focus on safety. And later, President Trump fires the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, why experts say that the claim doesn't add up and what's at stake for the economy.
We are starting to see the return of summer heat. Highs are in the upper 90s to near 100. How long this sticks around.
But first, another headlines tonight. New subpoenas were issued today concerning files in the sex trafficking investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. The House Oversight Committee is asking the Department of Justice to hand over the files. The Republican-controlled committee also issued subpoenas for depositions with former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and 8 former top law enforcement officials. Today, the Coast Guard released a report on the Titan submersible explosion. 5 people were killed in the 2023 disaster. According to the report, the deaths were, quote, preventable, and responsibility for the implosion lays largely at the feet of OceanGate, the operator of the Titan. Investigators gave a dozen reasons for the disaster, including failure to investigate after significant damage to the carbon fiber hull during previous dives. And air quality alerts are in place in multiple states from California to Connecticut as hundreds of wildfires burn in the western U.S. and in Canada. The Gifford Fire north of Santa Barbara is now more than 72,000 acres and threatening hundreds of structures. To the north of Canada, more than 700 wildfires are burning, with about 300 of those labeled out of control.
Welcome back in. Today marks the 42nd annual National Night Out. The campaign aims to build positive relationships between the police and communities. It typically includes block parties, picnics, festivals, parades, and other community events. It also is an opportunity for people to better understand law enforcement, connect with neighbors, and help raise awareness about crime prevention. We do have more information on local National Night Out events right on our website at abc10.com. But let's get things over to Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods, because it was actually pretty warm today, but very nice outside, I have to say.
Yeah, certainly our highs below average. Once again, we're going to start to turn things around, though. Afternoon highs upper 80s to low 90s. Normally, we're in the lower 90s at this point in the year. 80s in the foothills and 70s for the Sierra should be really nice for that National Night Out. Temperatures have been near or below average to start off August, but we are going to be turning things back to a warmer than average pattern right now. Our sunset at 8:12. We're still in the 80s throughout the valley, including Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, and Marysville. Tahoe with clear skies and 73 degrees. Our Rivercast forecast, we're back in action, taking on the Sugarland Cowboys. This is the beginning of the series. First pitch at 6:45, so we're starting off in the 80s. We'll wrap things up in the 70s for tonight. Now, the average number of 100-degree days is 16. We've had 4, so it's hard to complain when we have this warmer weather pattern taking shape, given how mild this summer season has been so far. We'll start the morning off in the 60s, sunrise at 6:13. Tomorrow's afternoon highs in the mid to upper 90s throughout the valley. And again, we are going to be seeing that warmer weather pattern take shape throughout the rest of the week. We get a little bit of a break on Thursday, but overall, watch for that high pressure ridge, sinking, warming air, and the summer heat making a return. Highs for tomorrow in the 80s for the Sierra, with 80s and 90s throughout the foothills. Along the coast, a mix of sun and clouds, and highs in the 70s. We'll start to move inland with highs in the 90s, near 100 for Tracy. A look at our Central Valley forecast, highs in the upper 90s to near 100. So we are starting to bring back a few locations right around the triple digits. Nothing widespread yet. Our highs are in the 80s this weekend for the Sierra with dry conditions. We'll see sunny skies and much warmer weather as well for the foothills. Highs in the mid to upper 90s. For the coast, it's a mix of sun and clouds with highs right around the upper 60s to lower 70s. Pretty mild, actually, for the coastal areas. 3-day forecast, highs will be warming above average for tomorrow. A little drop in those readings on Thursday, and then we're right back at it Friday into the weekend. Highs are going to be above average before a slow cooling trend in the next week.
All right, Monica, thank you. Right after the break, a major shift in vaccine funding, what it could mean for the fight against respiratory viruses. Plus, President Donald Trump's tariffs are set to take effect on Friday as Americans see prices rising. Tonight, tips on how to keep the budget during the changing economy. New tonight, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced funding cuts for some vaccines being developed to fight respiratory viruses like COVID-19. Kennedy is stopping $500 million worth of vaccine development projects that use mRNA technology. The 22 projects are led by major pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Moderna. President Donald Trump claimed that the massive revisions to the latest jobs report constituted to a, quote, scam. He also accused one of the top overseers of government statistics of cooking the books in a vendetta against his presidency. Ivan Rodriguez breaks down what the Bureau of Labor Statistics is and how the jobs report really works.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics collects data on a number of key economic concerns and produces critical reports on prices, inflation, and unemployment. The data is then used by businesses, investors, and government organizations like the U.S. Federal Reserve to make critical decisions. But Friday, President Donald Trump abruptly fired the commissioner of the BLS, Dr. Erica McIntyre, accusing her of rigging the latest jobs report for political purposes. Former BLS Commissioner William Beach, nominated by Trump in his first term, says that's impossible.
The commissioner doesn't do anything to collect the numbers. What I think really upset the president on Friday were the revisions to May and June.
The BLS's initial monthly jobs estimates are often based on incomplete data, so they are revised twice after the initial report, followed by a preliminary annual revision in August and a final revision in February.
BLS is the finest statistical agency in the entire world. Its numbers are trusted all over the world.
The BLS collects jobs data in two separate surveys. The first is done in part with old-fashioned door knocking. A second survey is collected from thousands of businesses and government agencies via telephone, internet surveys, and for large corporations through an automated data transfer.
The president's attack on the commissioner and on the Bureau could undermine that trust over the long term.
The prices seems to go up every week, every month. The price is killing me. Instead of saving money in my bank account, I'm using it in groceries.
Americans are feeling the strain of higher prices on everyday items. A new poll finds 53% of Americans say the cost of groceries is a major source of stress for them right now. 4 in 10 people under the age of 45 say they are using the buy now, pay later service to cover essentials like groceries and medical care. Many people are now looking to experts for ways to save. So some tips from the so-called crazy coupon lady include eliminating delivery services, buy in bulk, and use your grocery store's apps for some additional savings. Economists say prices will likely keep rising from everything from produce to electronics and cars. And for the first time in recent history, Mexico is exporting more computer equipment to the U.S. as auto exports start to show signs of decline. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce data, in the first 5 months of the year, Mexico's computer equipment exports to the U.S. doubled compared to the same period last year. In contrast, car exports have remained stable since 2017, with an average growth of just 8%. Meta says it is cracking down on scammers. The company said it banned nearly 7 million WhatsApp accounts over alleged criminal activity so far this year. Today, Meta said many of the scam accounts had ties to criminal operations in Southeast Asia and were responsible for stealing billions of dollars from victims. Meta warned users that the scammers often ask targets to pay up front to get promised returns or earnings. Then the scammers show the victims how much money they allegedly made and then ask the victims to pay even more money. Now, Meta said besides uncovering scams, WhatsApp also has rolled out new tools to help users spot scams and stay safe while messaging. So you might want to look out for those. All right, President Donald Trump is looking ahead to the 2028 Olympic Games. Today, he established a task force on the games being held in Los Angeles. The task force will consist of members of the president's cabinet and is expected to handle security and other issues related to the games. This will be the first Olympics hosted by the U.S. since the 2002 Winter Games in Salt Lake City. The LA Olympics are set to start on July 14th, 2028. Coming up, a look ahead to a To The Point special focusing on the growing city of Elk Grove. All right, before we go here, I do want to mention that coming up tomorrow at 6:30 right here on To The Point, the team spent about a month looking into Elk Grove, and tomorrow we're spending the next half hour looking at the city's growth. Over the past several months, our team spoke with residents, city and school officials about concerns and also plans for the future because there is a lot coming. Now, the city remains one of the top 5 hotspots in our region to move to, but that does come with some concerns. Residents tell ABC 10 the city feels busier and traffic is their number one complaint. Others just want more amenities. And when it comes to schools, the Elk Grove Unified Superintendent says the district is trying to keep up with the area's demand. They say they currently have 60 more schools to build as their district grows.
In our older neighborhoods, those neighborhoods are aging out. So we actually have
pockets of declining enrollment within the district, but around the edges we have explosive growth. All the new growth that's happening in the Rancho Cordova area, the Anatolia area, that's us as well. We have the south part of the city of Sacramento, and then all the unincorporated areas.
In addition to schools, how is the city addressing traffic and adding more things to do? Don't miss this To the Point special on Elk Grove's growth tomorrow at 6:30 right here on ABC 10 and, of course, our ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something that you want us to look into or you want us to visit your city next, you can reach out to me and the team and always email us anytime. Have a great night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.